These days, oil is as important to us as food and oxygen. We can't imagine even a single day without it. But here's a question you might not want to hear. What if one day all the oil from the earth simply run out? Because no matter how massive the oil reserves we have, they are not infinite. And every barrel we burn is a barrel gone forever. Every single day, humanity consumes nearly 100 million barrels of oil, enough to fill more than 6,000 Olympic swimming pools every day. That's the pace we're burning through a resource that took millions of years to form. Now, simply by dividing the overall estimated world oil reserves by the yearly consumption, we can easily find out that how many years of oil we have left with. Some experts estimate that at current consumption rates, we may have only around 50 years of conventional oil left. Others say it could be longer, but no one is denying the end of oil. But realistically, we may never run out of oil. Let me explain why. Because, given the wideness and depth of the Earth's structure, there will be new wells to discover. And there will be new technologies to discover and extract these new and deeper oil fields. But the practice of mining to such depths will become economically unviable. Also, the rate of burning oil is far greater than the rate of discovering new wells, creating the demand and supply gap with every passing day. As a result, prices for fuel will keep rising, as they have always done. Ultimately, we will have to look for alternative, cheaper means of producing energy. The heightened costs and shrinking supply will have a knock-on effect. People will realize that renewables are far cheaper than oil. And all these factors, new wells, rising oil prices, renewables, will reduce the use and extend the life of oil in our lives. Let's dive a bit deeper of the scenario. Scientists talk about a term called peak oil, the moment when global oil production hits its highest point, after which it can only decline. The peak oil has been around for decades. So far, it has never been reached on a global level. In June 2023, the International Energy Agency, IEA, announced we may soon reach a peak in the global use or demand of oil. We think that peak will be before the end of the decade, but just after 2028, so 2029 or 2030 most likely, says Kieran Healy, an IEA oil market analyst. Reaching a peak in oil use will be an important real-world signal that the energy transition from fossil fuels to renewables is taking place on a global scale. So, why the IEA thinks is now happening with peak oil demand, and why after that oil demand will start declining. It is because of the transport sector, which is by far the biggest consumer of oil. It accounts for around 60% of the 100 million barrels of oil used globally every day. Of that, around 45% of the total, around 45 million barrels a day, is used in road fuel for vehicles like cars, trucks, and vans. And this is where sweeping changes are already beginning to curb oil demand. Two big factors are driving this. First is the advent of alternative vehicle fuels, especially electric vehicles. And second is the increased vehicle efficiency. Electric vehicles have been a huge success story and are already having an impact on gasoline demand, especially in China, Europe, and North America. Globally, around 25% of all new cars sold in 2025 are electric, up from 14% in 2022, 9% in 2021, and less than 5% in 2020. And we expect that to continue. More and more electric vehicles will be sold and will displace the use of internal combustion engines in the fleet. China now has around 600,000 electric buses and 13.8 million electric cars on its roads. At the same time, rising vehicle efficiency is also helping to blunt increases in oil demand. The renewable energy is also on a continuous rise in all the other sectors. In 2025, around 30% of world electricity comprises of renewable sources. This irreversible rise of alternative energy in transport and other sectors during peak oil, and after that period, is going to extend the oil era on Earth. Because all the estimates ever made about the ending of oil reserves are made on the basis of current consumption rates. But we are on a road of continuously falling oil consumption. Many experts dispute the idea of peak oil reaching around 2030. They argue that the demand of oil will keep increasing, especially in developing nations. The countries in Southeast Asia, along with China and Africa, will be the new hubs of oil and energy consumption. They will put the peak oil around 2040 or even 2050. But the growing demand of oil in developing nations will further push the fuel prices up and increase the need to adapt the cheaper renewable alternatives. In the end, oil consumption will be on a slowly falling track, continuously pushing back the end date. So it is clear that oil will not end up on some particular year or day. The oil will stay there. It will get costly with every passing day and will be gradually replaced by alternative energy. We and our next generation, later in this century, will be using renewable energy as major source in our daily lives. And oil will be restricted to only few irreplaceable, unavoidable uses. So the only question is, will we be ready for that future? Or will we stand at the gas pump one day, staring at a price sign that says, "No more fuel"? What do you think about the future of oil? Share your thoughts in the comments below.